Now, the second objective for the test is being able to graph. And there's three different types really we're going to graph in. Slope-intercept form, horizontal and vertical, and our standard form. So let's start with this slope-intercept first. So we know that the intercept is 2, so we can start from 2 on the y-axis. Now our slope tells us rise over run. So -1/3 means I rise -1, which means actually you count down 1 square. And the run always has to go to the right, so I'm going to count across 3 squares. Once you've done that with 2 points, you can go ahead and join those up. This one, we're going to start from -3 on the y-axis, and we've got a slope of 2. Now, it was easier with a fraction to do rise over run. If we don't have a fraction, then we just make it a fraction by putting it over 1. 2 over 1 is still 2, but it conveniently helps us to count up 2 squares, go across 1 square. Now, if you have extra room like we do on this graph, you can do this again. Up 2 and across 1, up 2 and across 1, up 2 and across 1, and then it just makes it a little bit easier for you to join your points up when you finish your graph. Now, on this one here, you can see that we're going to start from +2 on the y-axis. Now, unlike the other ones, there is no number in front of the x this time, which means actually there's a 1 there, we just can't see it. And like this question, I'm going to make it into a fraction. So I actually have -1/1 here. Don't forget the negative sign there. So the negative tells me I'm going to count down 1 across 1, down 1 across 1, and keep doing it a few times until you have enough points that you can join your line up nicely. And our last one in this row, 1/2 x. Notice there's nothing on the end this time. This one had 2, -3, 2. This one has nothing, which means that we start from 0. The slope 1/2 means we go up 1, across 2. Up 1, across 2. And then once you've got a few points, you can go ahead and join those up with a straight line as well. Now remember also for these questions, if you want to check to see if your answer looks sensible, you can also go to Menu and Graph. On your calculator I believe it's up here somewhere, but on mine it's over here. And then when we actually type these in one at a time, I'm going to push Exit, and then where it says at the top y equals, you just type in this equation. So -1/3x, I'm using my fraction button here, plus 2. If you execute for a second time, you can take a look at the picture and try and match it up to see if it works correctly. Certainly we can see it goes through 2 on the y-axis. Use the little dots there to help you, and that should give you some ideas if you've done these questions correctly. So this one was probably kind of a difficult one, so let's try that one just to make sure as well. So exit, I can now type in my new equation, -x plus 2, and you can see this one is definitely right. You can see that it goes through 2 on the y-axis, x-axis, but you can also see that it goes through 2 on the y-axis. Now, 17 through 19, there's just a single letter for these ones. So this is that special one. This is either going to be our Hoy question, or it's going to be our Vux question, depending on which letter we're given. So when we give an x, we know that it's an undefined slope, but more importantly, we know it's a vertical line. So I'm going to draw a vertical line that goes through 3 on the x-axis. And that's it. If it says y, I'm going to draw a horizontal line, but going through 4 on the y-axis. And our last one starts with an x, so I'm going to draw a vertical line that goes through -1 on the x-axis, and we're done. Now, it's not easy to test whether the x equals equations are right, so I'm just going to check the y one just to make sure. So y equals 4, I want to make sure I didn't pick the wrong one. So just type in y equals 4 and draw it. It's a little off my graph, so let me just change my window quickly. And you can indeed see that it is a horizontal line. So nice little check if you want to make sure you're doing these questions correct. Now, if they're in standard form, we want to make them in slope-intercept form like we did earlier. So I'm going to start with my equation, and I'm trying to make it say y equals. So to move the 2x to the side, I'm going to do the inverse. So I'm going to take away 2x from both sides. Positive 4y is just 4y, and -4 minus 2x is just -4 minus 2x. Divide everything by 4. That cancels. -4/4 is -1, and -2/4 is the same as -1/2. Then we can use the same method that we used for 13 through 16. Once they start with y equals, then I can use slope-intercept form. So they start at -1, and a slope of -1/2 means I go down 1 and across 2, down 1 and across 2, and then I can join it up. All right, number 21. Negative 2x plus 3y equals 6. So I'm going to move my negative 2x to the other side first by doing the inverse, which would be positive 2x. That cancels. And I just get 6 plus 2x. Can't add those together because they're not like terms. And then divide by 3. So I get y equals 6 divided by 3 is 2. And 2/3 does not simplify, so I'm just going to leave that as 2/3 x. And then I can do the same thing. Starts from 2 on the y-axis. And the slope of 2/3 means I go up 2 and across 3. And then I can join those up. Let's do 22 on this side, where I've got a little bit more room. So 22, 2x minus 3y equals 6. So I'm going to move the positive 2x to the side, which will be negative 2x. Be careful here, this is not just 3y, there is a sign in front of it, so it has to be negative 3y equals 6 minus 2x, and then divide through by negative 3. So y equals 6 over negative 3 is negative 2. 2 negatives are going to give me a positive, and 2/3 does not simplify, so we can just leave it like that. And as it starts with y equals now, this is my intercept, negative 2, and it has a slope of 2/3, which means we go up 2 and across 3. So that method that we used on those first 4 questions here, obviously you're going to reapply when you do these questions here as well. So make sure you know that first method, because that's going to be very important for all those questions.